Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ashok IT. Today we are here to discuss about Spring Boot and Microservices online training course. This is our 33 Spring Boot Microservices batch. So I'm giving the course code as 33 SBMS. Here SBMS stands for Spring Boot and Microservices. For this 33 SBMS batch, I will be the trainer. My name is Ashok. I'm having total 10 plus years of experience in the IT industry as a Java full stack developer. Currently, I'm working as a technical lead in the product-based company in Hyderabad location. I'm having 7 plus years experience in the teaching. This Ashok IT Institute I have started in the 2020. So before starting Ashok IT, I worked as a trainer in a couple of other institutes in the market. So this is very quick introduction about myself. Now coming to the course details, in order to attend this Spring Boot and Microservices, what are the prerequisites? The prerequisites to attend this course, Core Java. You should have very good knowledge in Core Java in order to attend this course. Without having knowledge on Core Java, you can't understand the Spring Boot. Core Java, Advanced Java, and SQL queries knowledge is required. Coming to Advanced Java, you need to have the knowledge on JDBC and servlets. This JDBC is used to develop Java programs to communicate with the database. So you should know database communication by using Java application. And you should have the knowledge on servlets. Servlets are used to develop web applications by using Java. And SQL queries. You should know what is table, how to create the tables, how to alter the tables, how to perform DML operations, DQL operations, DCL operations. Database queries knowledge is required. If you know these three courses, then you are eligible to attend our Spring Boot and Microservices training. These three are prerequisites. If you know these things, then only attend for this course. Okay, otherwise you can't understand. The next one, who should learn this Spring Boot and Microservices? Nowadays, Spring Boot microservices became mandatory skill for every Java developer. If you want to become a Java developer, if you want to get the job as a Java developer, if you want to survive in the IT company as a Java developer, then this Spring Boot microservices knowledge is mandatory, right? So as a fresher also, you need to learn the boot and microservices. As an experienced person also, you should learn the Spring Boot microservices. For every Java developer, SBMS is mandatory. So that is the demand in the market, right? When you attend the interview as a fresher also, people are asking, do you have knowledge on the Spring Boot or microservices or not? If you don't have the knowledge on that, they are not giving much importance for that profile. If you upload a resume in the Naukri, in any job portal, without SBMS in your resume, then getting the interview calls is very, very difficult, right? So I have seen in our institute, a couple of students, they attended interviews as a fresher. So in the fresher interview also, they asked this is Spring Boot and microservices. For experienced people, it is damn important. So you need to keep in mind, without learning Spring Boot and microservices, getting the job as a Java developer is very, very difficult nowadays. So everyone should know this boot and microservices, because in the industry, every Java project is getting developed by using this boot and microservice concept only. Got my point? Next one, coming to the course content, what we are going to learn as part of our course. This total course I have divided into 14 chapters, guys. This is Spring Boot microservices course I have divided into 14 chapters. First one, Spring Framework Overview. So we came here for Spring Boot, sir, then why we need to discuss about Spring Framework? Without having the knowledge on the Spring Framework, you can't understand the Spring Boot. Spring Boot is just extension for the Spring Framework. First, we need to learn Spring Framework. Then we need to understand what are the modules available in the Spring Framework, what is Spring Framework architecture. So first you need to have a basic idea on the Spring Framework to start with the Spring Boot. So we are going to learn Spring Framework here, Spring Framework overview. Then we will start with Spring Core module. Spring core module provided the fundamental concepts of the Spring framework. Those are IOC container and dependency injections. Right. Once this core module is done, then we are going to start with Spring Boot. Spring Boot is one approach to develop Spring-based applications with less configurations. You can develop the project by using Spring framework. Earlier, people used to develop the projects by using Spring framework, but as a programmer, we need to take care of configurations in the project. So to avoid the configurations, to simplify the development process, Spring people provided Boot as an extension for the Spring. Right. After Spring Boot, we will go with JDBC. How to communicate with the database by using Spring JDBC concept. How to develop our application by using Spring JDBC to communicate with the database. Then we are going to learn Spring Data JPA, a ORM-based DB communication, object relational mapping, how to map our objects to the table, how to perform operations with the database by using objects. ORM framework related concepts we are going to learn here. Good. The next one, Spring Web MVC. By using Spring Web MVC, we are going to develop web applications by using Boot. So if you want to develop a web application, then we can go for this Web MVC. When we are talking about Web MVC, internally, it will use a servlets concept. So you need to have the knowledge on the servlets to understand this Web MVC module. The next one, REST APIs. In today's market, every application is developing based on REST APIs. So here we are going to learn what is REST API and how to develop the REST API by using Spring Boot. The next one, microservices, damn important topic in the course. How to develop our application by using microservices architecture. Earlier, people developed projects by using monolith architecture, that is outdated technique. So today, people are migrating from monolith architecture to microservices architecture. How to implement microservices based application and how to implement microservices by using Spring Boot, that we are going to learn. So here, Spring Cloud concepts we are going to learn, Spring Security we are going to learn, Spring Batch concept we will learn, and some tools, Kafka, Redis, Docker, JUnit, logging, cloud deployment, that we are going to learn here. How to deploy our application in AWS cloud. Okay. Then after, we will develop one project here that is called a mini project. Whatever the concepts that we are learning in the course, for every topic, we are going to develop one application. By integrating all the topics, we are going to develop one mini project here. So once the mini project development completed, we will understand full stack integration. So Spring Boot microservices we are learning. By using Spring Boot and microservices, we are going to develop backend of the application. So backend application development we will do by using Boot and microservices. Front-end application will be done by using Angular or React.js. I will show you the integration between Boot application with Angular and Boot application integration with React as well. So with this integration concept, our course will be completed. This is the course outline, guys. We are going to learn these concepts in our course. Can you guys have a look at this? Are you clear with the course content? Are you clear with the prerequisites to attend the course? Prerequisites and course content. And yesterday we discussed about course information as well. So as I told that I will be the trainer for all the topics in this course. This complete course I'm going to take. This course name is, I'm going to give as 33 SBMS, or I can say course code 33 SBMS. 33 SBMS nothing but in our Ashok IT, this is 33 batch for Spring Boot and microservices. The course duration, it is going to take 4 months of time. 4 months it will take to cover all the topics which I have mentioned here. Class timings, daily 7 AM to 8:30 AM, Monday to Saturday, the classes will be available. Class mode, the classes are going to happen through online. Daily class notes will be shared in our portal. Okay, so soft copy material will be provided for every topic that we are going to discuss. Now, the course fees is 8,000. As part of this plan 1, you will get live classes access and you will get the class notes access. If you want backup videos for 1 year, then the course fees will be 10,000. For videos, 2,000 extra will be there because we have purchased a SaaS platform to store the videos for you, backup videos purpose. So this is our course information. Just look at this. The detailed course content document I am sharing in the WhatsApp group, guys. Yesterday I have shared in the WhatsApp group. You can download the detailed syllabus document from our website. I'm sharing the link again in the WhatsApp group. If anybody not joined in the group, please join so that you can download the course content document, the syllabus. Swagger will be covered, Postman will be covered, everything will be covered. Okay, so we are going to learn the latest version of the Spring Boot, that is 3.2x version. The current version of the Spring Boot is 3.x. Okay. And I'm going to use IntelliJ IDE to develop the applications. Now, so here, along with these things, what you need to have. So the requirements is you guys need to have a laptop requirements. Okay. Laptop, a system, computer, laptop with 8 GB RAM. Okay. Daily class, 1 hour, 15 minutes will be available. Okay. Daily class will be there for 1 hour, 15 minutes. So 1 hour class will happen. Last 15 minutes, doubts, clarifications will be there for you. Daily class, 1 hour, 15 minutes will be there. And daily practice that you need to do. Daily practice you need to do for 2 hours. Right? So these are the things that you need to keep in the mind. You need to have a laptop with 8 GB RAM. 4 GB is also okay, but system will be slow. If you have 8 GB, then that is good. Daily class will happen for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 15 minutes of doubts clarification will be available. Daily practice you need to do for 2 hours of time. Daily practice you need to do for 2 hours of time. Then only you will understand. And we are going to use Spring 6.x version, Spring Boot 3.x version, Java 17 version. We are going to use Java 17 version. You need to install Java 17 version in your system. IntelliJ IDEA. We are going to use IntelliJ IDEA IDE to develop our applications. Right? So these are trending in the market. Java 17. The reason why I am using Java 17, to use Spring Boot, the minimum requirement is Java 17. Spring Boot is the latest version in the market. To work with the Spring Boot 3.x version, Java 17 is required. Spring 6.x version is required. IntelliJ IDEA is required. So these are the softwares that we are going to use for our course. Okay. Good. STS IDE also you can use Akshay, but IntelliJ is more famous than STS. STS IDE also we can use. IntelliJ is more famous than STS. If you want, I can show you both. Few applications on the STS, few applications on the IntelliJ. Okay, these are the software requirements that we are going to use. I will show you how to install the softwares, how to set up our system. Don't worry about that. So daily, you need to attend the class for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and last 15 minutes, doubts, clarifications will be there. daily practice, minimum you need to spend 2 hours for that. Minimum you need to spend 2 hours for the practice. So coming to the version details, Java 17 version you have to install in your system. IntelliJ IDEA you need to download and install. Then we are going to develop our applications by using IntelliJ IDEA. So Spring Boot 3.x version, which is latest, we are going to use 3.x version. To work with Spring Boot 3.x version, the minimum requirement is Java 17 and Spring 6.x version. Got it? Yeah. Perfect. Spring Batch is part of the course JMS. Instead of JMS, I'm going to explain Apache Kafka. That is a messaging queue. Java messaging queue. Here we are using Apache Kafka as a messaging queue. Someone is asking, are you going to cover Batch and JMS? Yes. Instead of JMS, I'm going to cover Kafka, and Spring Batch we are going to cover. So look at these things. And in the WhatsApp group, I'm sharing the course content document. I send the link in the group, guys. The people who are not having the syllabus document, you can download from our website. Syllabus document link I have shared in the WhatsApp group. So in detail, what topics we are going to learn, I have mentioned in the syllabus document. Okay. All right, perfect. Let's get started. Now, before going to start our course, let's understand what is full stack development. Currently, this is trending in the market. What is this full stack development? In this full stack development, where we are going to use this Spring Boot. So we are here to learn the Spring Boot, right? So nowadays, every company is asking for full stack developers. What is this full stack development? In this full stack development, where we are going to use this Spring Boot and microservices concept. So full stack development, nothing but combination of front end plus back end. Front end development will be available and back end development will be available. That is called as full stack development. Nowadays, to get the job in the IT, you need to be a full stack developer. That means you should know how to develop front end of the application, how to develop back end of the application. Now here in the market, to develop front end, there are some front end technologies are available. So what are the front end technologies that we need to know? So coming to the front end, we need to know HTML and CSS. We need to learn JavaScript. We need to learn Bootstrap. Then here choice. Either you need to go for Angular or you need to go for React.js. So if you want to learn the front end development, here there are several front end technologies available in the market. HTML and CSS we should know, JavaScript we should know, Bootstrap. So these are common. If you go for any web application development in the front end, these are the common technologies: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. Then after, either you can use Angular to develop the project or you can use React.js to develop the project. Both are having equal demand in the market. So to develop front end of our project, we are going to use these technologies. Then coming to backend, right? Backend technologies. So what are the backend technologies are available to develop our application? Full stack development. Full stack development, nothing but front end plus backend development is called as full stack development. So earlier, companies used to recruit only front end developers for front end development, back end developers for back end development. But nowadays, companies are looking for full stack developers who can develop both front end and back end, right? The person who is having the ability to develop the front end and back end is called as a full stack developer. So to develop that front end, what are the front end technologies are required? These are the technologies we are going to use to develop front end of the project. Then coming to backend technologies. In order to develop the backend, we can use Java, we can use Python, we can use .NET, we can use Node.js, we can use PHP, etc. So like this, there are several technologies are available which are used to develop backend of the application. Here we can specify database also. We should know how to work with database as well. Front end, backend plus database, right? In order to develop backend of the application, you should know at least one technology. You no need to learn all these things, guys. Remember. So to develop backend of the application, either Java or Python or .NET or Node.js or PHP. By using any one technology from this list, we can develop backend of the application. So here, first three are mandatory. Then in the last one, any one, either Angular or React, we will use to develop front end of the applications. Then next one, databases. So there are several databases available in the market. Some SQL databases available and NoSQL databases also available in the market. Coming to SQL databases. So here we are having Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, etc. Postgres databases. These databases are called as SQL databases. So if you want to represent your data with some relations, if you want to represent the data in the form of tables, columns, and if you want to represent some relationship with the data, then you need to go for SQL databases. So SQL databases are going to store the data in the form of tables, columns, and rows. So coming to SQL databases, Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, these databases comes under SQL databases. Similarly, we are having NoSQL databases, not only SQL, right? So here, NoSQL databases also available in the market. What are the examples for that? MongoDB, DynamoDB, Cassandra, etc. Right? These databases are called as NoSQL databases. These NoSQL databases are going to store the data in the documents format, in the JSON format. The documents will be represented. So to store the data in the documents format, we are going to use NoSQL databases. If your data is having fixed structure, then you can go for relational databases to store the data. If your data does not have fixed structure, then we will go for NoSQL databases to store the data, right? So you should have the knowledge on at least one SQL database and one NoSQL database. So as a full stack developer, you should have the knowledge to work with one SQL database and one NoSQL database, because in the projects, sometimes both will be available. In my project, we are having Oracle database as well as we are having MongoDB. For some functionalities, we are using Oracle database to store the data. For some functionalities, we are using MongoDB to store the data. So in my project, developers should know SQL database as well as NoSQL database also. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? What is full stack development? Full stack development, nothing but the combination of front end, back end, and database. So if you know how to develop front end, how to develop back end, how to use database, then you will be called as full stack developer. So here, coming to the front end, what will be there in the front end? Front end, it contains user interface. It contains user interface. Web pages will be available in the front end. If you go for any website, so you can see some web pages. Suppose, for example, if you open our website, our institute website, so you can see the web pages here. Here, carousel is available. Images will be scrolling here. Menu is available. When you click on that menu, some table is coming. Some buttons are available. Some logo is available. nav bar is available. Okay, so some banner is available, button is available, logos available, images are available, buttons are there. Okay, so some content is available, header is available, footer is available. So this is called user interface. When you open any website, whatever you see on the website, that is called as front end. Front end contains user interface. To develop the front end of the application, these are the front end technologies we are going to use. Then coming to back end of the application. So what will be there in the back end? It contains business logic. Back end contains business logic. So here, what is the meaning of business logic? So when you click on the login button, so if you enter some credentials and if you click on login, it is saying invalid credentials. That means some code is executing in the background and it is verifying my credentials are valid or not. That is called business logic. Whenever you create an account, you will receive an email from the application. Whenever you are doing a money transaction, you will get a OTP for your mobile number. So when you want to download the data, one Excel report will be generated. So like this, here, backend of the project contains business logic. So the main program will be available in the backend. Front end contains user interface. When you open any website, whatever you can see on the website, that is called user interface. Web pages will be available. To develop the web pages, these are the front end technologies we are going to use. Okay, coming to the backend. When user perform some operation on the web page, then the request will go to backend. In the backend, business logic will be available. That business logic can be anything. It may be validating your credential, sending the email, sending the OTP, deducting the money from account, adding the money to the account, generating one Excel report, generating one PDF report. The business logic can be anything that depends on our project requirement. Okay, then coming to database. So what is database? To store data permanently. So for every application, data will be available. We need to store the data permanently. So database is called as storage. Database is used for storage purpose. So our application will generate some data. That data we need to store. Then we are going to perform operations on the data. So basically on the database, we are going to perform CRUD operations, right? We will create the data, we will retrieve the data, we will update and we will delete. Depends on the project requirement. We are going to perform all the operations on the data. So data will be stored in the database. So the application, any software application is the combination of front end, back end, and database. Front end contains user interface, web pages will be available. Back end contains business logic. Database nothing but it is used for storage purpose. To store the data permanently, we are going to use this database. Good. To develop the front end, we are going to use these front end technologies. To develop the back end, we are going to use these back end technologies. To work with the databases, we no need to develop the database, guys. There are already databases available in the market. SQL databases available and NoSQL available. When to go for SQL database, when to go for NoSQL database. If you have clear representation, clear structure about your data, if your data is having a good structure, then you can go for SQL databases. If your data does not have a structure, then you can go for NoSQL database. Are you clear? Coming to the SQL databases, Oracle, MySQL, Postgres called as SQL database. NoSQL databases, MongoDB, DynamoDB, and Cassandra. Now here in our full stack development program, where we are going to use our Spring Boot. Spring Boot microservices comes under backend development, guys. By using this Spring Boot and microservices, what you can do? By using this Spring Boot and microservices, you can develop backend of the application. So when we are developing a software project, it will contain front end, back end, and database. By using this Spring Boot and microservices, we are going to develop back end of the project. Are you clear? So after learning this boot and microservices, what you can do? After learning this boot and microservices, you can develop backend of the project. Okay. So Spring Framework or Spring Boot, by using the Spring or Spring Boot, you can develop backend of the project. People are using Spring Boot to develop backend of the project. Are you able to follow me? Are you able to follow me? Right. So by using boot and microservices, we are going to develop backend of the application. So Spring Boot is extension for the Spring Framework, which is used to develop backend of our application. Perfect. And next one. What is this microservice? Monolith versus microservices. Let's understand what is the difference between monolith and microservices. So earlier, people used to develop their applications by using monolith architecture. Earlier, people developed the projects by using monolith architecture, but currently that monolith is outdated. People are using microservices architecture. So what is the difference between monolith architecture and microservices architecture? Monolith, nothing but monolith. All functionalities in single project. If you are developing all the requirements, all the functionalities as one single application, then that is called as monolith application. So let us take a simple example. Let us go for a website which is very famous in the market, that is Make My Trip. Let me go for Make My Trip application. So if you see in the Make My Trip application, you can see the user interface of the Make My Trip application. Here in the Make My Trip application, there are several functionalities available. Flights booking is available, hotels booking is available, trains booking is available, bus booking available, cabs booking available, holiday packages, homestays booking is available. So there are so many functionalities available in the Make My Trip application. If you develop all these functionalities as one single application, then that is called as monolith application. Developing all the functionalities in one single project is called as monolith application. If you go for monolith application, there are several problems available. So what are the challenges with the monolith application? The first challenge is maintenance of the project. The first challenge is maintenance of the project, because all the functionalities are available in one single project. All the functionalities are available in one single project. Then maintenance of the project is going to become very difficult. Maintenance of the project will become very difficult. And the second problem is single point of failure. Single point of failure. That means if there is one problem, if there is a problem in one functionality, then the whole project is going to be down. If there is some problem, suppose if the server is down, then the total application will be down. If there is a small problem in the project, then the whole application is going to be down. That is called as single point of failure. And the third problem, redeployment. Now here I have done the modifications for a functionality related to hotels booking. If I modify the code related to hotels booking, I need to redeploy entire application, redeployment of whole project. So if you make the small change for one functionality, you need to redeploy the entire application. You need to redeploy the entire application. Increases burden on the server. Because all the functionalities are developed in one project. So you will package that project as one WAR file. That one WAR file you are going to deploy in one server. All the requests will come to single server. It is going to increase burden on the server. Are you guys able to understand what is monolith application? Monolith application, nothing but developing all the functionalities in the single project is called as monolith application. When you go for monolith application, what are the challenges we have to face? Below are the challenges, drawbacks of monolith architecture. Drawbacks of monolith architecture. So what are the drawbacks available with the monolith architecture? The first drawback is maintenance of the project, because everything is available at one place. Everything is available at one place. Then the project maintenance will become very difficult. Then second drawback is single point of failure. The second drawback, single point of failure. So what is the meaning of single point of failure? If there is a problem in the project, the entire application will be down. The people cannot access our application. If you make the small change in the code, then the whole project we need to redeploy. Then all the functionalities are in one project. The project will be deployed in the server. It is going to increase burden on the server. It is going to increase burden on the server. Here, nowadays, people are not following this monolith because of its drawbacks. Because of its drawbacks in the market, people are not following this monolith architecture. To overcome the problems of the monolith architecture, people are going for microservices architecture. People are going for microservices architecture. So what is this microservices architecture? Develop the application in multiple APIs format. Don't develop everything in the single project. When you go for monolith, we are going to develop everything in the single project. But when it comes to microservices, what is microservices? Microservices is an architectural design pattern. What is microservices? Microservices is an architectural design pattern to develop application. So here, microservice is not a technology, guys. Microservice is not a framework, or it's not a API. What is this microservice? Microservice is a architectural design pattern to develop application in multiple APIs format. Microservices, architectural design pattern, it is used to develop our application in multiple APIs format. So what they will do in this microservices development? Flights booking will be developed as one project. So that one project contains the functionality related to only flights booking. One project contains the functionality related to only hotels booking. One project contains the functionality related to only trains booking. One project contains the functionality related to only buses booking. So when you develop the application like this, then it will become very easy to maintain, and it is very easy to manage. It is very easy to maintain, and it is very easy to manage. So don't develop everything in the single project. Don't develop everything in the single project. We are going to divide our application into microservices. Let us see the diagram here. When you go for monolith architecture, if you see the diagram, when you go for monolith architecture, so everything is available in one project. That one project contains everything. When you go for monolith architecture, all the functionalities are developed in the single project. The maintenance of the project will become difficult. If there is a small change, the entire application should be redeployed. If there is a small problem, the whole project is going to be down. So to overcome those problems, we are going to develop our application by using microservices. We are going to develop our application to develop microservices. So microservices is an approach to develop the application in the form of modular services. Okay, whatever the functionalities are available, instead of developing everything in one single project, we are going to develop them as modular services. Okay, so one service, first service, second service, third service, fourth service. Every service is a separate project here. Every service is a separate project. So tomorrow, If there is a problem in one service, only that functionality will be affected. Remaining functionalities will work as expected. Because instead of developing one application, I'm developing 4 applications. These are called 4 backend APIs. Instead of developing one single application with 4 functionalities, for 4 functionalities, we are going to develop 4 applications. If there is a problem in one application, only that functionality will be down. The remaining functionalities will work as expected. Tomorrow, if I want to make some code change in one project, then I need to redeploy only that project. I no need to touch the remaining projects available in the application. So like this, we are going to develop our application by using microservices. So here, what is microservices? Architectural design pattern to develop our application with modular services. With modular services. So what is the meaning of modular services? Independently deployable services. Independently deployable services. Independently deployable services. Now, for hotels booking, I'm going to develop hotels API. Okay, so this is one project. It will run in one server. For flights booking, I'm going to develop one project. Right? For flights booking, I'm going to develop one API, flights API, that is called backend API. For cabs booking, I'm going to develop one API that is called as cabs API. Cabs API. Okay. For a trains booking, I'm going to develop one more API that is called trains API. Trains API. If you go for Monolith, everything will be available in the single project. All the functionalities will be developed as one single application that is called as monolith architecture. With the monolith architecture, there are several drawbacks available. To overcome the drawbacks of the monolith architecture, we are going for microservices architecture. What is microservice? Microservice is an architectural design pattern to develop application with modular services. What is the meaning of modular services? Independently deployable services. So service nothing but one API, API nothing but one backend project, one REST API. So to book the hotels in our application, hotels booking functionality there. For hotels booking, one separate project will be created that is called hotels API. This hotels API is one project. It will run in one server. This is only responsible for hotel tickets booking. That's it. Similarly, we are having flight ticket booking in our project. For that, we are going to develop flights API. This API is only responsible to book flight tickets in the project. Similarly, cabs API is available. Cabs API will contain the logic for only cabs booking. Hotels API will run in one server. Flights API will run in another server. Cabs API will run in another server. Trains API will run in another server. Instead of running all the functionalities in one project in one server, for every functionality, one API will be created. Every API will run in a separate server. That is called microservices architecture. That is called as microservices architecture. Are you guys able to understand what is the difference between monolith architecture and microservices architecture? Are you guys able to understand what is monolith architecture, microservices architecture? What is monolith architecture? What is monolith architecture, guys? Developing all the functionalities in the single project is called as monolith architecture. There are some drawbacks available with the monolith architecture. To overcome the drawbacks of the monolith architecture, we are going for microservices architecture. Microservices is a design pattern to develop application with independently deployable services. For every functionality, separate API will be available. Every API is called as one project, and every API will run in the separate server. What are the advantages with that? Okay. As we are developing several projects for the functionality, easy maintenance. If I want to make the code changes, do I need to bother about all the projects, or I need to bother about the project which I need to work on? I want to make some code changes for hotels booking. If I want to make the code changes for hotels booking, do I need to bother about all the APIs, or I need to bother about only this API? If I want to make some code changes, do I need to bother about all the projects, or I need to bother about the particular project? If I want to make the code changes, then I will do the code changes only for the hotels API. If you see the diagram, there are several APIs available. I want to make the code changes for payment service. So I will bother about only payment service. I will not bother about the remaining services in the project. Okay. So if you want to make some code changes, you no need to bother about all the APIs in the project. So for which API code change is required, you need to bother about only that API. Easy maintenance. Do I need to redeploy all the APIs? Do I need to redeploy all the APIs? If I make the code changes for hotels API, I'm going to deploy only hotels API. I no need to redeploy all the APIs. Are you clear? Easy maintenance, faster development, quick deployments, faster development and quick deployment, faster releases, That means maintenance of the project will become easy because we are not keeping everything at one place. We are dividing the functionalities into multiple APIs. Every API can be deployed in the separate server. And faster development. So we can develop one API quickly. We can deploy that API. We can release that API to the client. Development mode will be faster. Deployments will be easy deployments, faster releases. So you don't need to wait for all the functionalities to be completed. If you complete one API development, you test it and you deliver that. You can release that API. Whereas in the monolith, we need to wait till all the functionalities are completed. But whereas in the microservices, independently deployable services we are going to develop. So every service is a separate project. And here, another advantage with the microservices is technology independency. Right. You no need to develop all the APIs by using only one technology. Suppose here, if you see, 2 APIs I will develop with Java, 2 APIs I will develop with .NET or Python. So I am having .NET resources in my company. I'm having Python resources in my company. So Java developers are there. Only 10 Java developers are there. If 10 Java developers working, it will take 1 year to complete this. I am having .NET developers and Python developers in the company. Few APIs I can develop with Java. Few APIs I can develop with .NET and Python. So because every API is a separate project, it will run in the separate server. So can I use multiple technologies in the project now? Guys, can I use multiple technologies in the project now? Few APIs with Java, few APIs with .NET, few APIs with do that in the microservices. Can I do that in the microservices? Yes, that is possible. That is possible. But if you go for monolith application, can we do that? If you go for monolith application, can I use Java and Python in a single project? Can I use Java and Python in the single project when you go for monolith application? Can I use multiple technologies in the monolith application? No. You guys need to respond in the chat box. At the end of the session, you can unmute. What are the questions I'm asking? You guys should respond in the chat box. Can we use multiple technologies to develop one monolith application? No. But can I use multiple technologies to develop microservices application? Yes. Every API is a separate project. Every API will run in the separate server. Can be developed our APIs with multiple technologies when you go for microservices architecture. So currently in the market, monolith got outdated. People are going for microservices. What is the difference between monolith? Developing all the functionalities in the single project is called as monolith architecture. There are several drawbacks are there when you go for monolith architecture. Maintenance of the project will become difficult. Single point of failure. If there is a problem, the whole application is going to be down. Redeploying the entire application is required. It will increase burden on the server because all the requests will go to single server. It will increase burden on the server. So to avoid those problems, currently people are using microservices, architectural design pattern to develop application with modular services. Nothing but independently deployable services we can develop by using microservices. So if you have 4 functionalities, instead of developing one application, one project for the 4 functionalities, we can develop 4 APIs. API nothing but a backend project. So if you develop 4 APIs, what are the advantages? Maintenance of the project will be easy. Development mode will be faster. Quick deployments we can do. Faster releases we can do. Technology independency also we can achieve. Right? So here, as part of this course, can you read our title now? Can you read our course title? Spring Boot and Microservices. So what is the meaning of that? We need to develop our application with microservices architecture using Spring Boot. Spring Boot is one approach to develop the applications. How to develop the application? Are we going to develop a monolith application? No, we are going to develop microservices based application by using Spring Boot. So that's why this course is named as Spring Boot and Microservices. By using Spring Boot, we are going to develop the backend of the project. So how we are going to develop the backend of the project? Backend of the project we are going to develop as microservices. That's why this course is called as Spring Boot and Microservices. By using Spring Boot, we are going to develop our application with microservices architecture. So by end of this course, you will be able to develop the backend of the application by using microservices architecture with the help of Spring Boot. Now, when we are developing the microservices, sir, here, every microservice, every API is called as one microservice. Every API will connect with a separate database, or every API will connect with the same database. We can't decide that now. It depends on the project requirement. If there are 10 APIs, it's not mandatory that 10 databases are required. Sometimes every API will have its own database. Sometimes multiple APIs will communicate with the same database. That depends on our project requirement. So going forward, when we are developing the microservices, we will see when we need to use shared database. Shared database, nothing but multiple APIs will connect with the same database. That is called shared database. Now here, independent database. Independent database means every API will use its own database. When to go for independent database, that is database per service, DB per service. DB per service. So DB per service, nothing but every service will maintain its own database. In some scenarios, shared database is required. Multiple APIs should connect with the same database. From project to project, that database concept is going to be different. Are we going to use a shared database or we are going to use database per service? It depends on the situation. I can't tell that now. When to go for shared database, when to go for a DB per service. So in the coming classes, we will understand some real-time use cases. Then you will understand when to go for shared database, when to go for database per service. Database per service, nothing but every service will have its own database. Now here, all these are the backend services. These backend services are nothing but REST APIs. These backend services will be accessed by UI application. This UI application can be an Angular application or React application. So users will send the request. Users will access the UI application. UI application will access our backend APIs through REST call by using JSON data. UI application will send JSON data to backend application. Backend application will perform some operation. Then backend will send the response to the UI in the JSON format. UI application will give the response to the user. So this is how a microservices based application will look like. Currently in the market, people are developing the projects in this fashion. Backend, multiple APIs will be available. Front-end application will be there. Front-end application will access backend APIs. End users will access front-end application. Front-end application will access backend APIs. Backend APIs contains business logic, and backend APIs will communicate with the database. So in this course, what we are going to learn? In this course, we are going to develop backend APIs by using Spring Boot with the microservices architecture. Spring Boot is one approach to develop applications by using Spring Framework. By using Spring Boot, we can develop backend APIs in our project. To develop the front end of the project, you should know front-end technologies. Either Angular or React is using in the market to develop front-end of the project. Coming to the backend, in some projects, relational databases will be available. Nothing but SQL databases will be available. In some projects, NoSQL databases will be available. You should have knowledge on both. In my project, in my current project in the company, we are using both SQL database as well as NoSQL database. Some APIs are connecting with SQL database. Some APIs are connecting with NoSQL database. Currently, I am working for a banking company, product-based company. I am working for credit card system. So in my project, there are 150 plus APIs are available. 150 plus microservices are available in our project. All are independently deployable services. They are having some shared database concept. They are having some database per service concept. So SQL database is available, NoSQL database is available. My project front end is developed using Angular. Backend we developed by using Boot and microservices. Okay, guys. Are you guys clear? What is full stack development and what is monolith and what is microservices? Yes. So here in this course, we are going to learn microservices development using Spring Boot. We are going to learn microservices development using Spring Boot. That's why This course is called as Spring Boot with Microservices. I hope you got the clarity. Good. What is a Spring Boot? Why we need to use Spring Boot? That we are going to discuss in the upcoming classes. If you want to know that immediately, so I think I have shared one video related to Spring Boot crash course. Did you guys get the chance to go through that video? Very recently, I have shared one video in the YouTube, Learn the Spring Boot in 3 hours. So it is a crash course to get the quick idea on what is Spring Boot. Guys, these videos are very, very helpful for you. Spring Boot full course in 3 hours. I have prepared one video with 3 hours and I explained what is Spring Boot, how to work with the Spring Boot. And if anybody want to learn the cloud computing, how to work with AWS cloud as a beginner, within 30 minutes, I explained what is AWS cloud and how to work with AWS cloud. So this weekend, if you are free, please go through these videos so that you will get some clarity. What are these videos and all, right? I'm sharing this video link in the chat box. Could you please like that video once, guys, so that it will reach more people. YouTube algorithm will publish that video to more people. So when the people give the like for that video, can you please give me a like so that it will go to more people so that people can learn what is Spring Boot. Within 3 hours, they can understand what is Spring Boot and how to develop projects by using Spring Boot. Can you give me a like from your side? $120 people are there in the class. 120 likes should be there. Can you give me a quick like for that? So that the reason for the like is it will reach more people. When you give the like, YouTube will understand that more people are liking this video. It will publish that video to more users in the YouTube. So that is very, very important. You can easily understand what is a Spring Boot by watching that video. Anyhow, we are going to discuss that again in the class. So when I explain in the class, you will get more clarity. So if you have free time, just go through that video to understand theoretically what is Spring Boot. In our course, we are going to discuss practically what is Spring Boot from very beginning level. We are going to understand that. All of you done with like? I don't see the number is not increased. I think only 30 people has done. It will take just 2 seconds, man. All good. Fine, guys. So with this, we got the clarity. What is our course? What we are going to learn in our course? What are the prerequisites for our course? And what is the course content, course information, requirement for the course, which softwares we are going to use, what is full stack development, okay, and what is monolith architecture, what is microservices architecture, and what we are going to learn as part of this course. Got it? Perfect. Good. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining.